Chapter 5. The net tightens. The small speck of blood on Alistair's handkerchief was a turning point. It was no longer a vague internal decay. It was a physical manifestation of his decline, a tangible piece of evidence that the Crake's shadow was winning. The sight of it instilled a new, terrifying urgency in him. He had always known his time was limited, but now he could feel it slipping away with every strained breath, with every racking cough that left him weaker than the last. He became more relentless in the lab, pushing himself to the brink of exhaustion. He optimized the brewing process, finding small efficiencies that shaved hours off their production time. He fine-tuned the ingredient ratios, increasing their yield by a precious few milliliters per batch. The camper van, once a symbol of his descent, became his entire world. Its sterile metallic surfaces and the constant rhythmic bubbling of the cauldrons were the only things that made sense. Outside was a world of lies, family dinners he couldn't enjoy, and a wife whose cheerful ignorance was a constant painful reminder of his deception. Leo watched the change in his professor with growing alarm. The quiet, arrogant academic was gone, replaced by a gaunt, hollow-eyed man driven by a feverish intensity. Alistair was working not like a man trying to build a fortune, but like a man trying to outrun death itself. "Professor, you need to rest," Leo urged one night, finding Alistair still hunched over a cauldron long after their scheduled work was done. "This pace, it's going to kill you." Alistair looked up, his eyes seeming to focus from a great distance. "I am already a dead man, Mr. Gable," he said, his voice a dry rasp. "The only variable left is how much I can accomplish before the inevitable. Corvus demands another shipment. We must be ready." The pressure from Corvus Lestrange was indeed becoming more intense. With the ministry sniffing around, the risk had increased, and Corvus was passing that risk down the chain. His demands for product became more frequent, his tone more threatening. The silent professional exchanges in dark alleys were replaced by tense meetings, where Corvus's cronies would make veiled threats about what happened to suppliers who failed to meet their quotas. Meanwhile, at the Ministry of Magic, the small article on page 5 of the Daily Prophet had landed on the desk of Senior Orer Gideon Rookwood. As the head of the Illegal Potions Task Force, it was his job to investigate such anomalies. At first he had dismissed it as sensationalist journalism, but the reports kept trickling in, not just from the gambling dens, but from all corners of the wizarding world. There were whispers of a new powerful form of liquid luck, something potent and fast-acting, something blue. Gideon, a man who believed in gut feelings as much as evidence, felt the familiar thrill of the hunt. This was not a series of isolated incidents. This was a coordinated operation. Someone was brewing, and someone was distributing, and they were doing it on a scale he had never seen before. He stood before the large magical map in his office, the same one Alistair had seen weeks before. But now small pulsating blue lights began to appear on it. Each light represented a confirmed report of a blue magic sighting, or a statistically impossible event. A cluster was forming around Diagon Alley and Nocturne Alley, which was to be expected. But there were outliers, strange blips in remote, seemingly random locations, a desolate moor in Yorkshire, a foggy thicket in the New Forest. "They're moving," Gideon murmured to himself, stroking his thick mustache. "They're not brewing in a fixed location. It's a mobile operation. Cunning." His investigation led him to the dregs of the Underworld, the same low-level dealers and informants that he rounded up on a regular basis. Most were too terrified of Corvus Lestrange to talk, but Gideon was a persuasive man, and the threat of a long stay in a ministry holding cell could loosen even the most stubborn tongues. He started to hear a name, a street name he recognized: Sparky. Leo Gable. Gideon remembered the greasy-haired punk from the raid. Small time, insignificant. How could a bottom feeder like Gable be involved in an operation of this scale? It didn't make sense. Sparky didn't have the brains, the talent, or the resources. He was a foot soldier, a delivery boy, which meant he was working for someone else. Someone with the skill to create a potion of this purity. Someone with the brains to mastermind the entire operation. The pieces began to click into place in Gideon's mind. A skilled potioneer. A sudden need for a vast amount of money. A connection to Leo Gable. His thoughts drifted, reluctantly, to his brother-in-law. He remembered Alistair's visit to his office. His strange, almost academic interest in the Gable case. He remembered the lucky streak Alistair had been on. The sudden inheritance. The convenient lottery wins. He had been happy for his sister, for the financial pressure to finally be off. But now, a sickening suspicion began to curdle in his stomach. He tried to dismiss the thought. Alistair? His quiet, bookish, perpetually disappointed brother-in-law? A criminal mastermind? The idea was absurd, and yet it fit. It fit with a terrifying, undeniable logic. He had to be sure. He couldn't confront his own family based on a hunch. He needed proof. He assigned 2 of his best junior aurors to a new top-priority task: discreet, 24-hour surveillance on Leo Sparky Gable. Find out where he goes, who he meets, Gideon ordered. I want to know who is pulling his strings. The increased surveillance did not go unnoticed by Leo. He might have been reckless with his money, but years of living on the fringes had given him a keen sense of when he was being watched. He started noticing the same unfamiliar faces in the crowds at the Leaky Cauldron. An owl that seemed to follow his new broom for a little too long. The feeling of eyes on him as he walked down Nocturne Alley. They're tailing me, Professor, he said, bursting into the camper van, his face slick with sweat. He had taken a series of complex, evasive maneuvers to get there, and he was still not sure he had lost them. Aurors. I'm sure of it. They're getting close. Alistair stopped his stirring, the news landing like a lead weight in his stomach. He had known this day would come. They were caught in a vice, with Gideon's aurors on one side, and Corvus's thugs on the other. Their mobile strategy, which had once seemed so clever, was now a liability. Every time they moved, they left a trail. Every time Leo met a contact, he risked leading the ministry right to their doorstep. We cannot continue like this, Alistair said, his mind racing, searching for a new variable, a new strategy. We are reactive, always on the defensive. We need to seize the initiative. Seize the what? Leo asked, bewildered. Professor, we need to disappear. We need to take the money we've made and run. We could go to South America. And what then? Alistair cut him off, his voice sharp with intensity. Live the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? That is not a solution. It is a delay of the inevitable. The ministry has a long memory, and men like Corvus have an even longer reach. No, running is not the answer. He began to pace the confined space of the lab, his mind working with the cold, desperate clarity that came only when he was faced with an impossible problem. They couldn't keep brewing in small batches. It was too frequent, too risky. The distribution was the problem. Leo was the weak link, the public face who was now a target. We need to change the business model, Alistair said, a new, audacious plan beginning to form. We are currently operating as a wholesaler, selling our product to a single, unreliable distributor. It is inefficient and dangerous. We need to think bigger. Bigger? Are you insane? We need to be thinking smaller. No, Mr. Gable. We need to make one final large batch, Alistair said, his eyes gleaming with a familiar dangerous light. A batch so large it will saturate the market completely, and we will not sell it to Corvus. We will cut him out. We will sell it ourselves, in a single transaction, to a buyer who can move the entire quantity at once. One sale, and then we are done. Leo stared at him, aghast. Cut Corvus out? Just like that? He'll kill us. He'll hunt us to the ends of the earth. He can only kill us if he can find us, Alistair countered. The proceeds from a sale of that magnitude would be enough to disappear properly. Not just to a new country, but with new identities. New faces even, if necessary. But it requires a significant amount of capital. Capital we can only get from this one final transaction. It was a breathtakingly reckless plan. It involved betraying one of the most violent criminals in the country, and then attempting to orchestrate a massive independent sale, all while under the watchful eye of the ministry. It was a high-wire act with no safety net. Who would even buy that much at once? Leo asked, his mind struggling to keep up. There's no one. There is one, Alistair said quietly. He had heard the name whispered in the ingredient supply circles, a shadowy figure who operated on an international scale, a broker who dealt not in vials but in entire shipments, a man known only as the Chemist. Finding him will be your task, Mr. Gable, Alistair continued. You will need to use every contact you have, but first we must acquire the ingredients for a batch 10 times our usual size. It will take everything we have left. It is an all-or-nothing gambit. Leo looked at the desperation in his professor's eyes, at the grim set of his jaw. He thought of the aurors closing in, of Corvus's thinly veiled threats. Their current path was leading to a prison cell or a shallow grave. This new plan was insane, suicidal even, but it was also the only path that offered even a sliver of a chance at a real future. It was a chance to be free, not just of the law and the underworld, but of the constant gnawing fear. Okay, Professor, Leo said, taking a deep breath. All or nothing. Let's do it.